What's up, Chargers Nation? Victor here, and I'm not gonna lie, today feels different. Because after another season that ended the same painful way we've seen way too many times, Justin Herbert walking off the field with that look, the Chargers might have just made a move that tells us everything about where this franchise is headed. And at the same time, there's a rumor floating around that could completely change what this offense looks like on Sundays. Think about this for a second. What if the Chargers finally stopped trying to manage Justin Herbert and decided to unleash him? And what if they didn't just change the playbook, but gave him the kind of weapon that defenses actually lose sleep over? Because one move is about scheme, creativity, and finally getting modern on offense. The other is about talent, swagger, and adding a true difference maker to this receiver room. And when you put those two ideas together, that's when things get dangerous, in a good way. I'm going to break down why this pairing could be the most important offensive shift we've seen in the Herbert era. But before we get into it, I want to hear from you. Do you believe this is finally the moment the Chargers go all in on Justin Herbert? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. And real quick, Chargers Nation, if you love daily Chargers news, rumors, and real fan-driven breakdowns, smash that like button, subscribe, and help us push this channel to 3,000 subscribers. We're building something special here, and I appreciate every single one of you. All right, because once you hear how these two stories connect, you might start looking at the 2026 Chargers very differently. Let's talk about it. All right, Chargers Nation, let's get into it because this one is huge. So just days after that brutal, all too familiar playoff loss to the Patriots, the kind of loss that makes you sit there staring at the TV asking, how does this keep happening? The Chargers made a move that tells me this organization finally understands the urgency of the moment. The Chargers are hiring Mike McDaniel as their new offensive coordinator. And as a fan, I've got thoughts, a lot of them. First off, let's be real about why this even happened. Greg Roman being fired wasn't a surprise. That offense felt stuck in neutral all season. When it mattered most, third downs, red zone, late game situations, it was the same story. Predictable, conservative, and worst of all, it felt like Justin Herbert was being held back instead of unleashed. Another playoff trip, another sputtering offense, another year of Herbert walking off the field with that look like, what else do I have to do? So this hire, this is the Chargers swinging back. Mike McDaniel represents the complete opposite of what we just watched. If Roman was about control, grinding, and hoping to survive games, McDaniel is about creativity, aggression, and stressing defenses from the opening snap. This is a coach who believes elite quarterbacks should dictate games, not be managed like game managers. And Chargers Nation, that's why this matters right now. Justin Herbert is entering a critical stage of his career. This will be his 5th offensive coordinator in 6 seasons. That's insane. That's not stability, that's desperation. But it also tells you something important. The Chargers are done waiting. They're not searching for small improvement anymore. They're searching for a breakthrough. Now, let's talk about McDaniel himself. Yes, he comes with baggage. He was fired in Miami after a 7-10 season. His overall record as a head coach, 35-33, with 0 playoff wins. That's not nothing, but context matters. Before Miami, McDaniel was a key piece of Kyle Shanahan's offense in San Francisco. Motion, misdirection, timing, efficiency. Defenses never got comfortable, and when he took that system to Miami, the idea was clear, even when the results weren't perfect. Build the offense around the quarterback's strengths, and that's where my excitement really kicks in. Justin Herbert does not need to be protected from himself. He doesn't need to be hidden behind the running game. He needs space, rhythm, and freedom. McDaniel's best offenses attack defenses horizontally and vertically. They force defenses to declare coverage early, then punish them when they guess wrong. That's how you get Justin Herbert easier throws early. That's how you stop starting games flat. That's how you survive when January football tightens up. Now, are there concerns? Of course, McDaniel hasn't proven he can win big games yet, and the constant coordinator turnover for Herbert is still a problem. Chemistry isn't built overnight. This is another reset, another learning curve. But here's why I'm still optimistic. This is a marriage of mutual need. Jim Harbaugh wanted a proven offensive mind who wouldn't be intimidated by Herbert's arm or personality. McDaniel wanted a quarterback who could actually execute his full playbook. That matters. And zooming out even more, this move tells us something about the Chargers' identity moving forward. They are done hedging. They're done playing scared. They are betting that scheme, imagination, and quarterback-centric football are the path forward. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Because if you truly believe in this offensive vision, if you're committing to spacing, timing, explosive plays, and letting Herbert cook, then this hire doesn't exist in a vacuum. It immediately raises questions about the personnel around him. And Chargers Nation, when you start thinking about what this offense could look like with the right pieces, one potential move suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. So keep it locked right here, because the next story might completely change how you view this McDaniel hire and what the Chargers are willing to do to go all in.
All right, Chargers Nation. Now this is where everything we just talked about starts to come together. Because if Mike McDaniel is the brain of this new offense, the next question is simple. Who is Justin Herbert throwing the football to when it matters most? And that brings us straight into news story number 2. The idea that the Chargers could trade for Cowboys wide receiver George Pickens. And I'm going to be honest with you right off the jump. When I first saw this rumor, my reaction was, oh, they're serious. This matters right now because we all just lived through the same nightmare. That wild card loss to the Patriots wasn't just a bad game, it was an indictment. When the season was on the line, the Chargers' top 4 receivers combined for 97 yards. 97 in a playoff game. That's unacceptable in today's NFL. And here's the part people don't want to admit. Those guys weren't hurt. They weren't missing games. They just couldn't separate. Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris, all solid players in their own ways, but when defenses got physical and sticky, nobody scared anyone. Nobody tilted coverage. Nobody forced defenses to change their game plan. And that's exactly why this George Pickens rumor hits differently, especially after the McDaniel hire. Pickens just came off a monster season in Dallas. 93 catches, 1,429 yards, 9 touchdowns. If he were on the Chargers last year, he would have led the team in every single category. That's not hype, that's reality. Now let's talk fit, because this is where News 1 and News 2 absolutely connect. Mike McDaniel's offense thrives on spacing, timing, and stress. Motion before the snap, quick decisions after it, but you still need a true X receiver who can win on the outside, beat press coverage, and make contested catches when the play breaks down. That is George Pickens' game. He's not just a deep threat, he's physical, he's confident, he makes corners uncomfortable, and more importantly, he gives Justin Herbert permission to be aggressive again. Because let's be real, Chargers Nation, Herbert has been playing careful football far too often. Not because he wants to, but because the margin for error has been razor thin. Now, the proposed cost? A first-rounder, 22nd overall, and a fourth-rounder. That's not cheap, and I know some fans are already saying, Victor, that's too much. But here's the real question. What is the value of finally unlocking your franchise quarterback? Draft picks are hope. George Pickens is production. Short-term, this move screams win now. You pair Pickens with McDaniel's scheme, and suddenly defenses can't sit on routes. Herbert gets easier throws early and explosive plays late. That changes games immediately. Long-term, yeah, you're sacrificing some draft capital, but you're also sending a message to the locker room. We believe in this core. We believe in this quarterback, and we're done waiting. Now, are there concerns? Of course. Pickens has personality. He's emotional. He plays with edge. But honestly, this team could use a little edge. And by all reports, his year in Dallas was clean. No locker room issues, no distractions, just football. And that's where Jim Harbaugh comes in. If there's one coach who can channel that intensity the right way, it's him. So when you zoom out and put both stories together, the picture becomes crystal clear. Hiring Mike McDaniel isn't just a coaching move. Exploring a trade for George Pickens isn't just a roster tweak. Together, they represent a philosophy shift. The Chargers are no longer building cautiously. They're building deliberately around Justin Herbert. As a fan, that fires me up. Because for the first time in a long time, it feels like the front office and coaching staff are aligned on one truth. Herbert is the engine. Everything else should serve him. So, Chargers Nation, I gotta ask you, do you love the Mike McDaniel hire? Would you give up a first-round pick for George Pickens? Is this the right moment to go all in, or would you rather stay patient? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Chargers Nation, and help us hit our goal of 3,000 subscribers. We're building something special here, just like the Chargers are trying to do on the field. No matter how many times this team tests us, no matter how painful the past has been, I still believe. This is Victor, this is Chargers Nation, and as always, bolt up.